Welcome back to my channel, Bob's Garage. Today I'm going to be working on this 2013 Mercedes-Benz ML350. It's the W166 platform. What we were hearing was a crunching noise when you go over bumps. It seems to be in a very specific location, not through a whole range of travel, but just small changes. It sounded like a dry bushing. So first thing I did was just squirt a whole bunch of lubricant underneath there, trying to free things up, but it didn't work. So anyways, gonna take a closer look and see what we find and see what we can learn along the way. Thanks. Okay guys, I got the wheel off. Like I said, this is my wife's 2013 ML350. We're having a grinding noise in the back, so I squirted a bunch of lubricant up in the back. On the bushings, figuring that they just got a little bit corroded. Salty northeastern area. Sorry about the background noise. It is hot, humid, and it just started to rain. And I got the car half in the garage because I got a pile of other projects. So I got the wheel off, getting ready to put more grease on, and that's what I discovered. You can see the spring's broken. Well, here comes the rain again. So I'm going to try to get the car jacked up here. I don't have a spring compressor for that. I got one for struts, but not for that particular kind. I don't think. No, nothing for that. What I saw from looking at some other work or similar work, you need a fork type compressor. So what I'm going to do is you can see I've started already, disconnect the lower strut link, and there is a electronic proportioning valve back there. So the game plan here is whatever I can do to remove interferences to allow the whole axle assembly to drop down, and I'm going to extend the spring so that I can take it out. So see how it goes. I'm going to see if I can set this up in slow-mo, and you guys can watch it go. Okay, so here's what I've learned. I loosened off the brake, that was good, but I got a little bit of speedy, and I broke the sensing wire on the brake by getting a little bit around me. It's stinking hot, and I'm not being careful here. Luckily, I kept the old sensor. This just clips on, so I got another one to replace that. So I was having a hell of a time getting the broken spring out. Everything's pretty tight, so I wound up taking it apart a little bit more, and glad I didn't put the slow-mo on this, because it would have been great for you to watch, really good and funny, but what a pain in the rear. So what eventually helped getting this out, and again, this is taking the broken one out should be pretty easy, but what's helped get this out was actually loosening this arm. That just loosened the whole suspension up, and that gave me the space I needed to get out. It was pretty tight, but that's giving it a lot of give now. You can see everything sort of flexing there. So far so good. I'm going to clean up the replacement spring. It's a used one. Probably saw that. Just clean up the rust a little bit. Take the wire brush to it. I'll bring you back for that. You don't need to see that. And then it comes putting everything back together. So pretty straightforward. Let's see why that's loose, but I suspect that just sits in there loosely. Oops, sorry, not pointing there. That's the upper mount. I don't think that threads, and I think it is just naturally loose. Oh, I can feel a bolt up there, so I better take a look at that as well. And clean up a few things. I got to put these brakes in about a year ago, but I'm going to have to clean them up. The slides are nice and dry again, so a little bit more work there. Won't bother with the details, but these are the slides that the brakes shoes right back up on. I lubricated them all, but I think I'm taking this all apart, cleaning the back up again, so that's good at the same time. But first things first, the spring is going to be the big thing to do. So I'll bring you back once I've got the spring cleaned up and taken a look at why that's loose, and hopefully we got some good progress in getting the spring back in. There we go. Okay, it took a little bit more to get the spring in and out. The suspension was bottoming out on the axle, so it was basically binding out. So I had to take off the top control arms. Now, before I did that, I made sure there was no alignment eccentrics on there. A couple things to watch out for: the speed sensor for the wheel, and I think in some of these other clips to come off. But once I got that, I was able to drop it down enough that I was able to get the top of the spring in and push it down, and now I just got to pry it back into position, and that's it. You can do this without getting a spring compressor, but you got to pull apart a lot of things. Okay, I'll bring the camera back on once I've got some of it reassembled. So I thought I'd go and show some of the more detailed reassembly, because I went through it pretty quickly at the beginning. I think you just saw it and sped up the film a little bit, but I've reconnected this link first. So I put a jack underneath the A-arm to get it back up. I've reconnected this link bolt going through, so I kept track of which bolt goes to which A-arm. Not that it matters. Might be asking about alignment, but there is no alignment in the back. If you notice, these bushings are conical, which mates up to the knuckle, which has got a chamfer, as you can see. So there is no way to change the alignment settings. So I've got this bolt in now. You can see it underneath there. This bolt in here for this arm, that would be part of the triangulation of the front. And then the top arm here will be the next. Put that in place, put the bolt through, and then after that I will jack up the car a little bit further, and I will reconnect the sway link, and then I'll put all the hoses back together, and I'll reassemble the brakes. I'll probably bring it back when I've got the links all put back together, or when I forgot the shock, I'll have to put that back in. When that's all done, I'll bring back for the brakes. Okay, so everything's bolted together for the suspension, but I still have to go back and retorque it. Now I'm just going to go and replace all the cables back in their holders. So this is for the wheel speed sensor, and then connects up in here, and then this whole thing snaps back into that arm. There's a little pin, and then that's all good. And here you have the that's the holder for the bracket for the brake sensor, which I still have to fix. And then after that, like I said, after I retorque all the nuts and bolts, all I have left to do is put the brake back on. So I thought I'd just go through the job they just did and tell you what went well and what didn't go very well. So basically in a skill level, it's probably like a 3 or 4 out of 10. Pretty straightforward, but you certainly got to know what you're looking at when you're doing, disconnection of the top end links, knowing what would happen, knowing how to support the spring. So I found out that when I lowered the A-arm, the lower A-arm link, that it wouldn't go any further. So I knew I'd have to disconnect more. So I had to think ahead about what would happen if the spring popped out. The tension was off, so it was pretty straightforward. But then how to get that extra travel. The other thing I learned and I didn't do very well on was planning ahead. So clearly the whole thing you needed to do there was to extend the suspension travel as far as possible in order to get the spring out. So should have planned ahead for that. I should have disconnected all the lines, the brake sensor, the speed sensors for the axle, got everything safe to allow full movement of travel. So no problems, nothing happened. I did that as it popped up. But I really didn't think the job out ahead. Only casualty, of course, was the wear indicating sensor. It's about $15 part. Got it already and replaced it, but that was pretty easy. In terms of tools, basic tools, but you'd need a good assortment. So you're talking about impact wrenches, half-inch drives, breaker bars. Again, pretty straightforward things. Probably again from a tool perspective, another 4 out of 10 doesn't take much in the way of tools. You can do this, and this is what I wanted to find out. You can do it without a spring compressing tool, so it makes the job pretty easy. I was actually surprised how well it went, considering that type of work. I've changed springs out before, and if it's on a strut, it's really easy to do. I've got compressor tools for that. I've changed them in the back, a little bit more difficult. This one is actually a little bit easier, but again, there's a safety issue there. You got to know what you're doing. You've got to think ahead and think what can go wrong. So again, thanks for watching. I wanted to share that with you. Definitely something that can be done. Definitely a way of doing it for the W166 Mercedes-Benz line of vehicles. It's completely possible. And a pretty straightforward job. Anyways, thanks for watching, and again, hit the subscribe button. There'll be more coming up. I'll probably be doing some brakes on a MK6 Jetta. It's been sitting too long. The brakes have got a little bit corroded. I've got some brake work to do on the Jeepster. It's heard a little bit of a noise in the front, so I'll be going through that. But I've got a few more videos to be uploading, and I'll be putting out a video on the master cylinder replacement shortly as well too. The sequence may be out of whack here, but you'll find it on the channel anyways. Thanks for watching.